Greetings, everyone. So this week is come and gone, and I'm not really sure how to summarize it. The highlight of this week was definitely the Australia trip, which you can watch the video I made about that either right here or farther down in the doobly-doo. There's a link to it. The flight back from Sydney was awesome. I got a first class ticket, and then a lady wanted to swap seats with me so she could be next to her husband. And in the end, I was in a first class window seat for the 13.5-hour flight back to the States. I did some recording in that seat, a little bit of the first class cabin itself, as well as some out the window of our slightly unusual takeoff. There's a link to that approximately 20-minute video in the description as well as right here. Anyhow, we got back Tuesday morning, and that's where the categorization trouble comes in. You see, before we left, I had a goal to be finished up with certain studies by the end of last week, which I had to take a break on due to the fact that we had to depart a day earlier than planned for our Australia trip. And as of today, those math studies still aren't done. So this leads me to conclude that it was a rather unproductive week, despite all the fun I had. On the other hand, we cleaned house, though we totally didn't realize it at the time. It was the first day of spring cleaning. And for the first time in 3 years, we can now actually access all the areas of the storage room. So if you measure the amount of cleaning we got done, this was probably the most productive week in the last half decade or so. One last thing, well, maybe two, depending on how you categorize them. Either way, I got something in the mail last Thursday. Tessa Violet's new album, Maybe Trapped, Mostly Troubled. I highly recommend it. Due to the higher production value and addition of additional instruments, it's a bit different from the kind of music that you'll find on her channel, which is just her and her guitar, as the playlist name suggests. But if you're into this sort of folkish, popish, rockish music, I guess, I'm not really sure. The iTunes info says it's pop, and I guess it kind of is, but it's a rather certain variety of pop music, which if you're into it, I think you will like the album. Over on her channel, she made a video that has samples for most of the tracks on the album, and you can find a link to that video in the description for this one. If you think you like the music, then you'll find links on her video where you can purchase the CD. Or digital files if you're into things that don't really exist. Well, okay, they kind of, well, it's complicated. And I don't have time to get into my views on that subject here, maybe in a future video or down in the comments. But I digress. The second half, or second thing, depending on your definition, is Mike Falzone also released an album recently. Zebadiah Zebra Pants. Yes, you heard that correctly. Zebadiah Zebra Pants. Which is a reference you will understand if you saw them live in Chicago, which I did not, or if you get the album. Now, this one I can't recommend quite as highly as Tessa's because it's significantly more, shall we say, adult-oriented. That said, I find it very funny. I've included a link to a couple of his videos in the description. The first link is a typical example of his comedic style, which if you enjoy, you will probably enjoy on his album. The second link is to a video that I do not personally find as entertaining, but it's a good example if you can stand listening to and or enjoy that slightly more potentially offensive than anything on the album, though the album does include a bit that is in that video. You'll probably enjoy Zebadiah Zebra Pants. Well, that's all I have for this week. Don't forget to like, share, comment, all that jazz, and I just hit my wrist hard on the door frame, so V out.